of Aema begins in the year 1981. The story opens with an award ceremony. On this night, South Korean superstar Hee-ran has just been honored. On stage, she looks glamorous, but when she is alone, her personality is very different. She is serious, practical, and someone who always goes after what she wants without hesitation. Her manager, Jung-ho, meets her backstage and hands her a new script. The script is for a movie called Madame Ama. But as soon as Hee-ran realizes that the film is an erotica, she throws it away in anger. Later, a party is held in her honor. The party is hosted by her ex-fiancé, Jung-ho, who is also a producer. Jung-ho believes that the new decade of the 80s should welcome bold films and that sex will sell at the box office. But his idea backfires immediately. When Hee-ran arrives, she confronts him, and in front of everyone, she beats him up for daring to suggest that she should do an adult film like Madame Aema. The very next moment, she changes her behavior completely. Turning to the guests, she puts on her sweet and graceful image, showing the side of her that audiences are used to seeing on the silver screen. After this, Hee-ran takes full control of the situation. She bribes the main reporters and arranges a press conference. At the conference, she looks elegant and calm. She announces with a smile that she will never take part in nudity. The reporters immediately admire her decision. They write glowing articles about her, calling her choice bold and brave. But things do not sit well with Jung-ho. He is furious after the humiliation. In his anger, he makes a decision. He will demote Hee-ran to a small role, the role of Erica, and instead give the main part of Aema to a rookie actress. Hee-ran is shocked, but there is a problem. She is still under an exclusive contract with him. One more film is left in that contract, and only after that can it be terminated. This means she cannot walk away so easily. Hee-ran, however, is not the type to give up. She begins to plan her own move. She approaches director Kwon, a respected and award-winning filmmaker, asking him to cast her in his next project. But there is a catch. In the past, Hee-ran had turned him down, and Kwon has not forgotten that. He also has no desire to work with Jung-ho as a producer. Still, Hee-ran does not show her frustration. She slips back into her usual persona, the one the public loves, humble, soft-spoken, and graceful. She speaks to Kwon politely, as if nothing has happened. But in the end, it is unclear if her act has convinced him or not. Not willing to leave her future to chance, Hee-ran takes further steps. She orders her manager, Jung-bae, to pressure Kwon's production team. Their goal is to make Kwon collaborate with Jung-ho's company. If they succeed, then the film Aema can be cancelled, and Hee-ran's final movie under Jung-ho's contract will instead be directed by Kwon. Elsewhere, Jung-ho is working on his own plan. He goes to meet Mrs. Wang, his regular investor. He tries to convince her to place her money on the rookie actress instead of Hee-ran. With full confidence, he boasts that he is the one responsible for Hee-ran's stardom. According to him, if he could make Hee-ran into a superstar, he can do the same with the rookie. The next day, the auditions for Aema begin. Hee-ran also appears there, this time not as an actress, but as one of the judges. Among the people involved is director Kwok, a man who hides a lot of frustration inside him. It is also clear that he secretly has a crush on Hee-ran. She notices this weakness and takes advantage of it to quietly sabotage the auditions. But in truth, she does not even need to do much. None of the candidates are a good fit for the role, and the process turns out to be disappointing. As the auditions wrap up, Kwok is about to leave for home. But then he meets Ju-ae, a young woman who has arrived late. Unlike others, she is very different. Ju-ae is bold, unapologetic, and completely blunt. She openly lies if it helps her get what she wants. She introduces herself as a tap dancer, and during her audition, she uses her dance steps in a suggestive way, turning the rhythm into innuendos. This act immediately catches Kwok's attention and excites him. Later that night, Ju-ae is back at home. She goes to a rundown shanty shared with other single women who work in nearby factories. Life is hard and money is tight. But Ju-ae does not give up on her dreams. She still holds hope and ambition. It also becomes clear that she is a fan of Hee-ran. Good news arrives. Ju-ae has been cast for the film. Jung-ho, true to his usual self, behaves in a lewd manner. But Ju-ae is not intimidated. She easily shuts him down and shows that she is not someone who can be pushed around. However, things take a turn when Hee-ran shows up. In front of everyone, Hee-ran accuses Jue of sleeping around to win the role. Without hesitation, she even kicks Jue out. But Jue is just as sharp. She hits back at Hee-ran with her words before leaving the room. At the same time, Young-bae is busy with his own task. He is trying to recruit director Kwan's producer, but his efforts are not going well. The talks are rough, and it does not seem like success is anywhere near. Meanwhile, Kwak cannot stop thinking about Jue. He asks Jung-ho's assistant, Mr. Gi, to find her. The search is not easy, but eventually Jai discovers the dance club where Jue works. When he approaches her, Jue shows her feisty nature once again. She fights back, even beating Ji up, and openly calls out the production company for preying on desperate rookies like her. Later, Jue confides in her friend, Jung-ho. She admits that she sees Hee-ran as special, while she does not think she has that same value. She is conflicted. On one hand, she admires Hee-ran as an actress. On the other hand, she cannot forget the way Hee-ran insulted and humiliated her. Despite these emotions, Jue makes a decision. She will not give up. She returns to the audition hall once again. This time, she takes a bold step. She strips in front of them and declares that she is willing to do whatever it takes to become an actress. In return, she demands one thing: she must be made the next Hee-ran. Hearing this, Hee-ran does not respond with anger. Instead, she smirks. Episode 2 of Aema begins with Hee-ran laughing at Jue. The veteran actress tells her that no one can ever be the next Hee-ran and asks Jue to leave. But Jue does not back down. Instead, she turns to the other judges and demands their opinions. Jung-ho is impressed by her bold attitude, while Kwak is completely taken by her charm. With their support, Jue is chosen as the new Aema, which leaves Hee-ran feeling annoyed and humiliated. The studio quickly sets Jue up with her own apartment. The first thing she does is visit her friend Gonha, who is preparing to join a protest. Jue asks her to stay by her side and work as her assistant. Junha is conflicted. She does not want to abandon her activist friends, but at the same time, she wants to support Jue. In the end, she agrees. Ji points out that Junha won't be paid for this role, but she will get to live a comfortable life with Jue. Meanwhile, Hee-ran is furious and tries to break her contract, but Jung-ho warns her of the consequences if she goes through with it. Realizing the risks, Hee-ran is forced to stand down. Still, she makes sure to remind Jung-ho that the fans who bring him money are loyal to her, not Jue. Reporter Yang and the factory ladies come together to bid farewell to Gunha and Jue. They share their goodbyes with heavy hearts and remind Jue not to forget about them and the struggles they continue to face. Their words move Jue deeply, and she leaves with teary eyes, carrying their hopes with her. But soon, a new drama begins to unfold. Jung-ho's girlfriend, Mina, who is also an aspiring actress, feels betrayed. She is upset and angry that Jung-ho did not cast her as Aema. Out of frustration, Mina decides to take matters into her own hands. She poses for provocative photos with him and then uses them as leverage, blackmailing him. Meanwhile, Young-bae receives the first draft of a brand new script from Kwan, titled Predation Night. The script is powerful and impressive, leaving Hee-ran completely overwhelmed after reading it. She wastes no time and rushes straight to Kwan's home, begging him to cast her in the project. But Kwan explains that the story is not finished yet, and he also warns her that the film might include nudity. Hee-ran, however, is determined. She insists that she will do whatever it takes. For the first time, she admits that although she has achieved great success, all her previous projects were done only for money. This time, she wants something different. She wants to take on a project for the sake of art itself. Hee-ran's passionate words inspire Kwan to keep working on his script. In his imagination, he creates a twisted and dark scene. In it, a woman is with her lover in bed, but in the middle of the act, she kills him and walks away without looking back. The disturbing image gives his story a new edge. Meanwhile, Kwak continues to work on the Aema script. He rewrites it with more subtlety, trying to give it a deeper meaning. But when Jung-ho reads it, he rejects the changes immediately. Jung-ho demands that the film stay the way it was originally planned, full of bold and in-your-face smut. Kwak tries to defend his vision and argue for something more artistic, but Jung-ho quickly shuts him down, threatening to fire him if he refuses to obey. At the same time, Kwan decides to present his script to Jung-ho. Jung-ho has always wanted to work with the director, but things do not go as planned. Kwon does not respect Jung-ho at all, though he tries to remain polite because of Hee-ran. But when Jung-ho suggests replacing Hee-ran with Mina, Kwon openly mocks him. The tension quickly boils over. Their argument turns violent, leading to a physical and bloody fight. This confrontation ends any chance of collaboration. Jung-ho will not be producing Kwon's film, and as a result, Hee-ran also loses her chance to be cast in the project. Meanwhile, Kwok goes to visit his old friend Hyuk. Hyuk was once an actor, but failed to make it in the industry. Now he works as a bartender, and the women who come to the bar absolutely adore him. Kwok, however, cannot help but feel jealous of how easily Hyuk attracts the ladies. Still, their friendship runs deep. Kwok decides to give Hyuk a second chance and casts him as the male lead in Aema. At the same time, Paul's assistant is busy helping Ju-ae get dressed. But the result does not impress Paul at all. Even though he is disappointed, he chooses to stay silent because of his loyalty to Hee-ran. Ju-ae ends up wearing a frumpy, outdated midi dress, while the elegant, custom-made gown she actually loves has been prepared only for Hee-ran. Back at home, Ju-ae refuses to accept defeat. She takes the frumpy dress, tears it apart, and remakes it into something bold and sexy. When the day of the movie's first press conference arrives, Ju-ae proudly steps out in her reinvented outfit. Her makeup is vibrant, and she is not afraid to show a little skin. Hee-ran immediately takes notice and judges her harshly, criticizing her look and attitude in front of others. Once they are alone, Hee-ran throws her belongings at Ju-ae and scolds her for disrespecting Paul's design by making it vulgar. Ju-ae defends herself, saying that showing a bit of cleavage does not make her promiscuous. She insists she is only doing her best to stand out, but Hee-ran refuses to listen. Tired of the argument, Ju-ae drops Hee-ran's belongings on the floor and walks away. Outside, Ju-ae vents her frustration with Gonha. Both of them are annoyed that Hee-ran can look so beautiful and elegant, yet still be rude and cruel. As they walk, they run into a reporter. He is someone Ju-ae recognizes, a regular from the dance club who often tried to hit on her. Even sober, he behaves the same way, making lewd comments and even wondering aloud if Gonha and Ju-ae are a couple. Meanwhile, back at the boutique, Paul is upset after seeing what Ju-ae did to his design. He feels that she butchered his work. Conflicted, Paul decides to start making a new custom outfit for her. But this time, he creates something that is extremely modest, hiding away any boldness she might want to show. Ju-ae then begins her very first horse riding lesson. Unlike the usual method, she refuses to dominate or force the horse. Instead, she takes a gentler approach, and surprisingly, it works in her favor. The horse responds well to her, and she handles it gracefully. Soon after, censorship issues strike, and the script for Aema is officially rejected. Kwok is furious and frustrated with the decision. But Jung-ho tries to calm him down, pointing out that this actually gives them an opportunity. He explains that Kwok can now rewrite the script in a more subtle and artistic way, while still keeping the smut that sells. Later that night, Hyuk drinks heavily at the bar. Intoxicated, he decides to leave on his motorcycle, unaware of the danger waiting ahead. Finally, at the end of episode 2, Young Bae comes to Hee-ran with shocking news. Hyuk has been in an accident. If you want, you can also make this version even snap Hyuk in the hospital after his accident. Hee-ran is happy about the situation, but Jung-ho is clearly upset. Still, Jung-ho quickly comes up with a solution. He decides to find a new male lead and, until then, continue filming the other scenes that do not need Hyuk. When Hee-ran tries to stop him, Jung-ho loses his temper and gets physical with her. But before things can go further, they are interrupted. Director Kwok suddenly has a breakdown, which puts a pause on the situation. Even with all these problems, preparations for filming begin again. Ju-ae focuses on getting into her character's mindset. She does not seem worried about the fact that Kwok only cast her for her body, especially her breasts. Ju-ae opens up about this and says that when she was a teenager, she felt ashamed of her figure. But now, as an adult, she no longer minds using her body if it helps her reach her goals. She even goes a step further by praising Kwok, telling him that he has the talent to work around the strict censorship rules. These words motivate Kwok and inspire him to continue rewriting the script. However, Ju-ae soon faces a big challenge. Just 15 minutes before filming, she receives the new script. She panics, not knowing how to handle the sudden changes. On the other hand, Hee-ran shows no signs of worry at all. Meanwhile, Gi is watching closely as Jung-ho takes care of the bribery. The goal is simple: make sure that the newly revised script passes through censorship without any issues. Ji is impressed with how smoothly Juna handles the situation. Soon after, filming begins, but things do not go as planned. Jue struggles with her performance. She forgets her lines and cannot keep her focus. On the other hand, Hee-ran performs perfectly. Every line comes out sharp, and she does not miss a single beat. She immediately takes the chance to gloat, pointing out Jue's mistakes. Because of Jue's nervousness, the team is forced to take a break from filming. Jue feels the pressure, while Hee-ran enjoys the moment. Later, in her dressing room, Hee-ran tries on the new Paul Go dress, but she is not satisfied. She looks in the mirror and does not see the vision that she expected. At that moment, Jue suddenly barges into the room. She is upset and demands that Hee-ran back off, reminding her that this is her very first day on set. Hee-ran is calm and dismissive. She simply responds that acting is not about chances or excuses. An actor either has the talent or does not. The next scene to be filmed involves Aema getting acupuncture. During the scene, both Aema and Erica begin to feel aroused. This time, Jue handles the performance well. She follows the direction and delivers exactly what Kwok wants. But Hee-ran reacts very differently. She suddenly storms off the set. She says that she does not understand her character's motives in the scene. To her, it makes no sense, and she refuses to act without clarity. When she questions Kwok, he does not have a real answer. Frustrated, Hee-ran decides to wrap up for the day and leave. Afterward, Jue confronts her. She accuses Hee-ran of being money-hungry and hateful, only caring about herself instead of the work. Hee-ran responds with a question of her own. She asks what is the point of giving everything when a person has already lost faith in what they are doing. As Hee-ran leaves, she accidentally takes Jue's script with her. Later, while looking at the notes, she is surprised by what she finds. Despite all their clashes and differences, Jue has written that she actually wants to be like Hee-ran. Kwok continues to face problems with the film. He still has not figured out how to properly show the sultry scenes without breaking censorship rules. Jue then comes up with an idea. She suggests wearing a thin dress in the rain. Kwok immediately feels inspired, believing this approach will solve the issue. Meanwhile, the female assistant works with the new male lead, Jung-ho. She explains how he should cover himself up in order to suggest nudity without fully showing it. During the instructions, Jung-ho accidentally flashes her. Instead of being upset, she seems amused and begins to like him. On set, Jue continues to perform well, especially in scenes that do not require her to memorize long dialogues. But when it comes to the sex scene, Kwok's innocence and inexperience become clear. He struggles to direct it properly. Jue notices this and decides to take control. She leads the scene, and for a moment, it looks like there is a spark between her and Kwok during the shot. The moment is broken when Jung-ho becomes aroused in the middle of filming. The male crew members react with irritation, clearly annoyed by the distraction. But the female assistant reacts differently. She checks up on him, shows concern, and the two of them seem to share a small connection. However, just as things are starting to move forward, the Ministry of Culture suddenly arrives on set and stops the filming. It turns out that Junha's bribe has failed to work. With the production now at risk, Jung-ho scrambles for a solution. He tries to bring in higher connections, but this comes with a cost. His plan requires sending Jue to entertain the government officials, who are under stress while preparing for the upcoming 1988 Olympics. Meanwhile, Junha and Ji seem to be getting closer, almost like forming a quiet friendship. When a drunk Kwok lashes out, accusing Ji of stealing the bribe money, Junha steps in to protect him. Later, she feels guilty, thinking she is somehow to blame for the mess. But Ji is blunt and honest. He tells her firmly that it is not her fault. Afterward, Ji sends her to see Jue. When she arrives, she witnesses a troubling scene. Jung-ho is pressuring and threatening Jue to attend the Olympics party with the officials. Junha immediately objects, not wanting Jue to go, but Jue snaps back. She lashes out at Gunha for not understanding her struggles. With anger and desperation, Jue declares that she is willing to do anything to escape the life of poverty she has known. But everything turns out exactly as Junha had feared. At the hotel, the madam in charge orders Jue to strip. She is dressed up in the latest fashion by the maids, who look at her with judgmental eyes. Jue is forced to stay silent as the madam makes a chilling threat. She warns Jue that if she ever speaks about what happens at the party, both she and her friends will be killed. With no way out, Jue is in tears as she finally enters the party. Inside, the atmosphere is disturbing. Strippers perform for the guests, government officials openly hook up with escorts, and in the middle of it all is Hee-ran. She is wearing a revealing gown and singing for the crowd. At one moment, Hee-ran notices Jue. She gives her a knowing look, as if she understands everything without saying a word. The atmosphere is tense, and the men make a cruel game out of deciding who Jue should entertain. Instead of waiting for them, Jue boldly walks straight up to the most important guest in the room, who turns out to be none other than the president himself. As the party continues and takes a darker turn, Hee-ran questions Jue, asking why she is fighting so hard for a film that hasn't even been released yet. Her words strike Jue deeply. At that moment, the president makes an offer. He can make her a star instantly, but only if she sleeps with him. Jue, holding back tears, pleads to be allowed to succeed in the right way, saying she isn't even an actress yet. The president laughs at her innocence, but ultimately lets her go. Before anything else can happen, Hee-ran steps in and tells the president that Jue is not worth his time. She offers herself instead, taking Jue's place. Jue is left in shock, still trying to process everything, when Jung-ho's government friend, Choi, drives her home. On the way, he tells her to keep the outfit she wore at the party and hands her an envelope with 1 million in cash. Jue tries to refuse, but Choi coldly reminds her that she has already fulfilled her end of the deal, leaving her with no choice. Back at the hotel, a furious Hee-ran slaps Jung-ho for pimping out Jue, reminding him that he did the same to her when she was a rookie. Jung-ho doesn't deny it, pointing out that they have no real power and that government officials can do whatever they want. The fight eventually dies down, and Hee-ran gives Jung-ho the permission slip to resume shooting, which she obtained from the VIP. She makes it clear that even though she hates the film, she doesn't want to go out in disgrace. In exchange, she demands a new script. Their discussion is interrupted by a drunk Mina, who lashes out at Jung-ho for protecting her when she never asked for it. Later, Hee-ran finds Jue waiting outside her home. Jue thanks her, saying that Hee-ran's words at the party gave her the strength to turn down the VIP. She also opens up about her toxic home environment, explaining why she's been so determined to succeed. Hee-ran, still sharp and apathetic, asks Jue why she wants to be an actress beyond simply wanting a better life. Meanwhile, Gyun-ha returns home and finds Jue eating while surrounded by Choi's money. Jue breaks down, and Gyun-ha shares her frustration, but they both bitterly agree that their actions don't seem to matter, so they might as well enjoy the money. However, Jue later gives the money to reporter Yang to fund his protests. He worries for her, but promises to help if she ever needs it. Jue also reflects on why she became an actress. She remembers a high school play where she first felt truly herself on stage, realizing that acting allows her to express her real identity. Meanwhile, Hee-ran looks through her first script and notes, realizing the connection she shares with Jue's passion. Script revisions begin with Hee-ran and Kwak. Kwak wants to explore women's pleasure, combining European arthouse erotica with Japanese grotesque smut. Hee-ran, however, rejects glorifying rape, adultery, hypersexuality, and the male gaze. She tells him the film cannot combine both genres and instructs him to focus on the absurd and grotesque. Kwak reluctantly gets to work. Ji sends Gyun-ha to collect clothes and a bribe from Miss Gill. Jue will now wear Miss Gill's outfits instead of Paul's. Gyun-ha, though upset, cleverly demands more money for herself and pockets it. The reshoot begins. In the original scene, Jung-ho, a married man, is supposed to rape his first love, Aema, and both Aema and Erica are depicted as being turned on. During the reshoot, Aema firmly refuses him. Before he can force himself, Erica appears and whips him. Together, Aema and Erica tie him up in bondage-style fashion and even have his wife discover him. After the scene, Hee-ran surprises everyone by being cordial and even complimenting Jue. Touched, Jue offers Hee-ran reporter Yang's card for protection if needed. Young-bae watches amusedly, noting that despite Hee-ran's cold persona, Jue genuinely likes her. Meanwhile, Mina goes on a hunger strike to show her displeasure, but assures Jung-ho that she can handle whatever challenges come her way. On the final day of filming, Aema and Erica go horseback riding and lie together in a field of flowers. Their dialogue resonates deeply, with Erica telling Aema to never lose her identity and to always protect herself. Jue thanks Hee-ran, but she claims it was just the film's dialogue. Mina hosts the rap party, telling Jue that they are alike in using sex to advance their ambitions. Jue simply smiles, accepting her path. At the very end, Jung-ho cuts short Hee-ran's farewell, reminding her that the contract requires her to lead 12 films, and she still has one more as a supporting actress. Hee-ran smiles before playfully attacking him, ending episode 4 on a sharp and humorous note. On New Year's Day in 1982, the police, all fans of Hee-ran, let her go, but Jung-ho is still held at the precinct. Taking advantage of the situation, Hee-ran sneaks into Jung-ho's house to destroy her contract. While she is there, she finds his ledger. In the ledger, she discovers that Jung-ho is being paid in gold for hosting the parties and for pimping his actresses. She tears out the page that mentions her and Jue, trying to protect them. However, Jung-ho returns home, and a fight breaks out. He brutally beats Hee-ran and burns the ledger. Angry and desperate, Hee-ran shoots him in the shoulder. After this, Jung-ho wants revenge. He demands a re-edit of the film because he does not like Hee-ran's version of Madame Aema, which makes the women strong and independent. Kwok tries to resist his demands, but he fails to stop Jung-ho. Later that night, Choi drives Mina to the next party. Mina tries to seduce him, hoping to gain favor. Choi becomes frustrated and angry at her boldness. He mocks her for being promiscuous and acts aggressively. Mina is left in tears, knowing that this is the only way she can move forward in her career. This party turns out to be even wilder than the one Jue attended. The VIPs are young and uncaring, and Mina loses control when the main VIP drugs her and assaults her. She overdoses and dies at the party, a shocking tragedy. Meanwhile, Hee-ran and Kwok watch Jung-ho's crass version of Madame Aema, which ends with Aema choosing Yoon-ho and having sex, completely betraying the independence of the women. Hee-ran regrets not killing Jung-ho and tells Kwok that standing his ground is not enough. He needs to get his hands bloody to fight back. She storms off, needing air. Elsewhere, Gyun-ha buys Jue a fancy red car, claiming it is to make the world pay. Jue disapproves. She has already lost her dignity and does not want Gyun-ha to lose his as well. Feeling overwhelmed, she hides in the stables and unexpectedly finds Hee-ran. Hee-ran and Young-bae have stolen the film reels and take them to the woods behind the stables. Hee-ran brings Jue along, saying she deserves to be part of what happens next. Ji discovers the missing reels, and Kwok is upset with Hee-ran for going to such extremes. He decodes her parting words and unfortunately figures out her location. Hee-ran decides to destroy the reels by setting them on fire, recalling the humiliation Jung-ho caused her in her first film. Jue understands and helps pour gasoline on the reels. Despite everything, she is grateful for the experience and feels indebted to Hee-ran for what happened during the night with the VIP. Ji and Kwok race to the woods and stop them in time. Kwok breaks down, overwhelmed because this is his first film and he put his heart and soul into it. Hee-ran understands and returns the reels. They apologize to each other for failing the film. Despite the humiliation, Hee-ran agrees the movie will be a hit and advises Jue to learn how to be vapid like her, as it will protect her from the dangers of fame. At the mortuary, Jung-ho calmly identifies Mina's corpse. There is a hint of remorse, as he shows no excitement when Choi offers to release Madame Aema as the country's first midnight screening. Opening night arrives. Kwok and Jue are upset, as most of the crowd laughs at the film. Hee-ran storms off, and Jue's friends feel embarrassed for her. Despite this, they later admit that Jue was cool throughout it all. The movie becomes a hit, and Jue rises to stardom. Ms. Gill demands her money back because Jue altered or swapped some outfits. She lets it slip that she paid $2 million, and Gi realizes it was Gyun-ha's doing. Jung-ho pressures Kwok to sign a 5-film exclusive contract, but for the first time, Kwok stands his ground and makes his own demands. Jue's troubles continue when the Daejeong reporter confronts her, demanding an exclusive for nominating her to his network's award show. Meanwhile, Paul questions Hee-ran's ability to be his muse, noting that Jue's fierce image is everywhere. Hee-ran herself is also nominated for the award. Kwok informs her that Jung-ho agreed to re-release the film with her original cut after the award show. She feels gratitude, but also bitterness when she sees director Kwon receiving a prestigious award. Jung-ho offers Jue an exclusive contract, claiming her career will fade without a big studio. Jue is conflicted and does not answer. Both Hee-ran and Jue learn about Mina's death and attend her funeral. They are the only people there apart from Mina's family. They talk about identity, dreams, and how easily both can be lost. Hee-ran cries, but regains her resolve and confronts Jung-ho, vowing to make him pay. She declares she is a witness to all his crimes and does not care if she goes down, as long as she destroys him too. With Hee-ran seeking reporter Yang's help to expose Jung-ho. She also learns she has won the Supporting Actress Award and must attend the ceremony. To her surprise, director Kwon, who had hated Aema, requests a meeting. He admires her performance and agrees to collaborate, but Hee-ran asks for his help in a different way. Elsewhere, Jue's family calls demanding more money. Jung-ho warns Choi to tail Hee-ran, but she stays ahead. Jung-ho also manipulates the Daejeong reporter Jae-jeon, setting up a meeting with Jue. Ji and Junha have a confrontation. Ji claims honor, while Junha exposes his hypocrisy. He fires her. At the meeting, Jue calls Jae-jeon impotent, punches him when he tries to hit her, and leaves. Another confrontation occurs between Paul and Hee-ran. He tries to avoid her, but she emotionally blackmails him into dressing her one last time, planning to go out with a bang. Jung-ho is furious as Jae-gyeon defames Jue, calling her a hooker, but does not believe her. Despite the scandal, fans prefer Jue's homely and traditional image. Junha tries to burn the defaming newspapers and decides to move out, unable to survive in the industry's harsh realities. Award night arrives. Hee-ran wears the gown Paul was making for Jue. Jue arrives on horseback in a variation of her dance club uniform, stealing the spotlight. Despite Jae-gyeon's interference, Jue does not win, but she stays for Hee-ran, who also does not win. Director Kwon receives the Lifetime Achievement Award and brings Hee-ran on stage, alerting Jung-ho that something is wrong. Choi orders her to be grabbed, but Hee-ran exposes Jung-ho's crimes on livestream. Reporter Yang and his men distribute pamphlets outside, spreading the truth. Chaos erupts as Jung-ho and the officials try to catch Hee-ran. Kwon, Paul, Young-bae, and Yang help her escape, and Jue arrives on horseback to whisk her away. They regroup at Hee-ran's warehouse, but Yang and Young-bae are arrested and tortured. Jung-ho is also arrested by Choi, beaten, and cut off. Hee-ran confronts the Minister of Culture, showing him the torn ledger page with his name and demanding he stop harming actors, warning that he will not be spared if he tries to kill her. Her plan succeeds. The country rallies in concern for Hee-ran, and Choi is betrayed and arrested. Hee-ran advises Jue to make the industry pay if she wants to survive. Jue has a tearful farewell with Junha and promises to stay strong. Yang and Young-bae are released, and Kwok cries while watching the original cut of Aema, knowing it cannot be re-released. It is now 1983. Jue makes her Japanese debut, embracing her sex symbol image. She tells an interviewer that the industry is difficult, but everyone must do what is necessary, even if they don't like it. Hee-ran smiles as she watches Jue on television, keeping a copy of Kwon's script with her. By the end of episode 6, Young-bae has become Jue's manager. She receives several offers, mostly erotic films, and calmly puts on her sunglasses, orders wine, and channels all her confidence and determination, ready to face her new career.